Good evening, everyone. I am Shubhangi Mishra. I am part of ANDAcademy's branding and communications team. I welcome you all today to ANDAcademy's UX UI design webinar. I am so excited that all of you have decided to spend this Tuesday evening with us. I hope that you're able to learn something new, and then we'll see you in class soon. So I would like to begin by talking about a little bit about what AND does, what is AND's vision, where do we come from, and why do we do what do we do. So ANDAcademy is the brainchild of Dr. Jitin Chandra, who's also the CEO and the founder of Indian Institute of Art and Design. So ANDAcademy was born out of the need of imparting design education online and to make it affordable, accessible, and industry relevant. So that's how all our courses are designed. They are designed for you to upskill your skills in design, or even if you come from a non-design background, you're able to understand and work with design and make a very industry relevant portfolio, so that you're able to successfully transform your career. Other than this, all of our courses in UX UI design especially are part-time courses. So these are courses that are designed for people who may be working, and alongside their work, they can also choose to upskill in the domain of UX UI design. We also handpick our faculty. So all of our faculty are industry leaders and also come from the design space. So they're front runners in design, and not in design only, but also in imparting and design education. So that's about a little bit about so we will be following a little bit some hygiene checks that we'll be following in this webinar. So if you have any questions, I would recommend that you put it in the Q&A box that you find at the bottom of your screen. If you have any query while the presentation is going on, I would recommend that you raise your hand. And we'll be taking your questions at the end of the webinar, but please keep putting them in so that we're sort of able to answer them properly. Today, this webinar is led by our head of academics, Prachi M. So I would like to introduce her a bit. Prachi is a designer, educator, and researcher. She brings 20+ years of industry and academia experience to the table. Her practice spans the discipline of product design, social design, publication design, and design management. Her expertise lies in curriculum development, strategic use of pedagogy and technology, and academic processes for design education. A graduate from NIFT, New Delhi, she has also completed a PG certification in higher education from Kingston University, London. And not just that, we're also joined by one of our wonderful learners today. His name is Shrikant, and you'll be able to see his work today. So over to you, Prachi.
Thank you, Shubhangi, and thank you, everybody. Good evening. Shrikant and I are happy that you're spending today evening with us, listening to what we have to share about UX UI. And more than my part of the presentation, I'm excited to always hear what our learners have to say, because they are the present and the future of the industry. And their experience is closer to what you might be seeking in your own pursuits. So what we're going to cover today is that we're going to start with me sharing a little bit about what is UX UI design. We're taking some time to do this because in my experience, I've seen that while this term has become very mainstream today, everybody talks about it, but there is a lot of sometimes half-baked knowledge around what exactly UX UI is. So if you are somebody who is seeking to pursue this as part of your career, I think it's good to first get a clear understanding of what exactly this is. And then I'm going to hand over to Shrikant, who's going to share his journey and one of his projects that he has done as part of the course. We'll close the session with very quick overview of the course at hand, and the last 15-20 minutes will be reserved for your question and answers. So as Shubhangi said, while Shrikant and I are presenting, we would prefer that you put your questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to them towards the end of the session. So I'll request you all to be patient around that. Okay, and with that, this is what I hear people say often when I ask them, when candidates interview with us, or whenever I'm talking to people who are interested in UX UI, I ask them, what do you understand about UX UI design? And this is the common response that I get. User experience is about the overall experience, how a user feels. User interface is about how it looks. We have to do a lot of research. It is about thinking about what color to use so that people can like what they are seeing. While none of this is wrong, this is all right, but this is the incomplete picture, and I think a slightly narrow view of what UX UI design actually is. So the way I approach anything when I have to understand anything in my life, what I do is that I go back and break it down into meanings from the dictionary. So here's what I've done. I've broken it down, the user experience design, each word, and what is the meaning of it that the dictionary gives us. Now, user is fairly simple. I think all of us understand. Experience also, I think all of us understand, is to have something happen to you, to do or to feel. It's not only about what you think, and it is also not only about what you feel, but it is what you do and what you think and feel while you're doing it. That's the experience. But I do want to focus on the definition of design, and that is to plan or make something with a specific purpose in mind. And now every word here is important, that you're planning, you're not just making, you're planning. Then after that planning, you make, and something, whatever you're making with a very specific purpose in mind. Now that is the simplest way one can define design. So if we put the definition of these three words together, what does user experience design become? It becomes an intentional process, because like I said, design is when you make something, plan something with a purpose in mind. So it's an intentional process. You are consciously working towards an outcome of creating a product, service, environment that addresses specific needs of its operators or users in order to stimulate an intended response. So it's almost like choreographing an experience, choreographing somebody's experience of interacting with a product or a service or an environment in such a way where I can predict or I can elicit an intended response, what I want them to feel or do or think. That intention is met, and that's what one is planning and designing, and that's what user experience design is. A conversation around UX design is incomplete if we don't talk about UI or user interface. And normally when I ask people, what do you think is the difference between UX and UI, they give me a simple definition that UX is the overall experience and UI is about how one sees. So I'm curious that when you see something or when you experience a product that you can only see, you can only experience it through sight, not smell, not touch, etc. Then how is UX UI different? It is different. But again, to just understand that, let's look at the definition of interface. Interface, quite simply, is the surface. It's the way something is presented to a user, the means through which a user receives information. So what you see on the screen today is the user interface of Zoom, because we are interacting through Zoom. And that is the user experience, user interface of Zoom. That you can see probably a bar on the top. However you have organized your screen, you can choose whether you can look at just the speaker or everybody's cameras, all the panelists' cameras. Where do you want the chat? Where do you want the Q&A? And so on and so forth, right? So the means through which a user receives information or through which we connect. So you and I are connecting over this interface of Zoom. That becomes the interface, right? So is it therefore about making something beautiful or attractive? Because that's what everybody mostly talks about, so that I can feel good. Remember what I spoke about right at the beginning, that when I ask people, they say that we'll select good colors, about what font to select so that reading is easy, what colors, we'll think about color psychology so that people can feel good about it. But I have 2 points to make here. One is that, we are all different people. How can we just apply color psychology and say that, okay, everybody feels good about red? No, it's not as simple as that. And the second point, which I think is more important, is are we as humans such a shallow race that if something becomes beautiful and attractive, then we feel good about it? Or is our feeling, or is our experience of feeling good goes beyond making something beautiful or attractive? So even user interface design is not about just making things beautiful or attractive so that you can ultimately feel good and have a good user experience. It is about effective communication. And for that, I want to take the example of this, this remote that I have. I don't know if it is visible to you guys. And this is the remote of an air conditioner that is in my home. And it is one of the most well-designed remotes that I have come across. And because of its user interface, right? Somebody thought about all the different functions and features that I as a user might want to control in my air conditioner. And they built that. So that is also partly technology. It has been built at the back end. But just its interface, the way the keys are organized, it's beautifully organized in such a way that in the night, I have this habit of constantly switching on or switching off the AC, or adjusting its mode, or adjusting its temperature. I do that very frequently in the night. And I don't have to remember where I have to press. Of course, I have done a little bit of memorization. I do know that if I want to increase the temperature, then I have to just feel, run my thumb across the remote and find the biggest keys. And if I press that, then it will increase or decrease. If I want to change the mode, then I have to run my thumb and find the tiniest circular buttons, and I'll be able to do that. If I have to do something else, then I have to look for these kind of buttons, just with the feel of my thumb. And in the night, I don't have to switch on my, light to do any of it. And the way the buttons are designed, the height of it, the softness of it, it also helps me read the shapes very simply, very easily in the sleep when I'm half asleep. Now that is the user interface design. It's not about how pretty this looks. It probably doesn't look very pretty, right? But it gives me a good experience. I'm a satisfied customer, a satisfied user. And after I experience this, when I had to replace the air conditioners in my house, we started replacing all of them with the same, simply because not that others were not cooling as well or their electricity consumption was less or whatever, but because it was giving us a very simple way to control it through the remote, as well as if I put a window AC, then the panel controls are also very well designed, right? So user interface design involves effective communication that makes the user and product interaction easy and compelling to take the desired action. So they've made it user friendly for me, right? One little disclaimer here. Today, UX UI is often associated with websites and mobile applications, but UX UI design goes beyond the digital space. It includes analog experiences as well, which means non-digital experiences. So for example, the experience of being in an airport terminal Now, for somebody to think that when you get down from a flight, the first thing that you would probably want to do is one of the two things. One, you would like to know, you'd like to visit a washroom because you've just come out of a long flight, or you just want to freshen up because you're probably getting out for a meeting and you just want to, sort of correct your hair. The second thing I might want to know is if I've checked in baggage, I would like to know where the baggage collection point is and where I can collect my flight's baggage, or I just want to know the exit. So there are three possibilities that I want to know. And if somebody can preempt, anticipate these needs, then the airport experience can be designed in such a way. So as soon as I enter, big, bold signage, which informs me of these three things, and then signage and leads, which take me to these 3 points, right? And so on and so forth. So what happens if after I've collected the baggage, what do I want to do then? Or when I'm collecting the baggage, what do I want? So where should I put the airport trolleys? Where should the porters be? So on and so forth. So the UX UI design, goes beyond just digital products. It goes into even non-digital products. But at AND, in the short courses that we teach, we only address the digital products, the UX UI design as it relates to websites and mobile applications. We don't go into other spaces. So we don't teach you how to design the remote. We don't teach you how to design the airport experience, but only websites and the mobile applications, right? So products are actually for people. In fact, if you go and trace back the history of UX UI, it's a term which is not too old, a little more than a decade old, and has become more and more popular in the last 5-6 years. So when I studied product design. That's what it used to be called. And at that time, not many products were digital. They were electronic products, but not very many digital products. And we used to design physical products. So you could design a mixer grinder, you could design a spectacle, you could design a lamp, a pen, and things like that. And then technology came in and a lot of digitization started happening, and digital interfaces were being created. Softwares were being written to basically first help enterprises. Before it reached the common person, it reached enterprises. So a hospital would have a software that could, take charge of their billing or patient history. And they started creating software where a university or a school could do the attendance management, right? And a lot of technology software started coming in. And UX UI actually started as a discipline when technology started taking over experiences, right? And engineers who were developing, or technocrats who were developing these products needed to understand or take a design approach, right? So products are for people, and sometimes we forget because you can just focus on technology, or you can, if you're a business-oriented, a profit-oriented business, you can just think about the profit or getting market share. But ultimately, every product, every service that you're designing is for people. And what does UX UI design do? It takes a human first approach to solving these problems. So yes, technology will come in. Yes, marketing will come in. Yes, business will come in. And we will achieve all of those goals as well. But let's first take a human first approach to solving problems. Now, what does it mean to take a human first approach? I want to just quickly talk about this story. The story unfolds on the railway platforms in Japan, right? So what you see here is a image from, and those of you who have seen, who have a metro in their city would find this very familiar. You have a platform, you have a train, and you have some seating where people are waiting. Now, something very interesting was unfolding in Japan. Statistics were showing that there were a lot of fatal accidents by people overstepping the platform and falling on the tracks where the train is supposed to be. They would fall on it, and because these are electric trains, the tracks would be charged and people would fall, and it would lead to fatality. And it was alarming statistics. And the establishment in Japan wanted to, investigate and figure out a way to avoid these deaths. Now, what did they actually find? So they actually sat down to observe what was really happening. Why were people overstepping the platform? And they discovered something very interesting. So people in Japan work very long hours, and they also travel very long distances. So as you can, I don't know if you can make out, but this gentleman in the black suit here has dozed off while waiting for his train because they're so tired. They would often doze off. Sometimes late in the evening, people would also be under the influence of alcohol. So they would have taken a drink or two after their office, and then they would be at the train station catching a train. And what they would do, the moment a train is about to arrive, there would be an announcement or a hooter. So they would wake up, or they would sort of come into consciousness, get up and start walking towards the train. But because they were partly not fully conscious, they would sometimes miss where the platform ended, and they would accidentally fall off, leading into these fatalities. Now, there could have been many, many different solutions for it. You could run a campaign telling people to not be under the influence of alcohol or to not doze off while waiting for a train. You could install barricades so that people don't fall off. And those of you who have been in Delhi metros would have seen in some places that is what has been done. Somebody can say that, we can paint very bright color on the edge of the platform, and that will help people notice it. But you know what the simple solution that they came up with? They came up with this, a simple change. I don't know, can you notice what has happened here? What is the change that has happened? They've turned the direction of the benches. So earlier, in the previous slide, if you see, the bench is parallel to the track. So when you sit on the bench, you're facing the tracks, you start walking, and you that's what was happening. People were, sort of overstepping the platform. They just turned the bench 90 degrees. And now, as this lady is also dozed off here in the image, if she starts walking straight, she will walk and bang into the other bench, but she would not walk off the platform. Because to approach the train, she would have to turn. And in that turning, you actually wake up. You become more conscious, right? And that was a simple intervention that was done. And this is what it means to take a human-first approach. Because you probed into the problem also, that why is this happening? And once you figured out why this is happening, you again took a simple human first approach that if we make people turn, if people don't have to walk straight, but people have to turn, they would wake up and become more conscious. And automatically, nobody was on a suicide mission here that they were deliberately overstepping the platform. And automatically, they would become more aware, conscious, alert, and they won't overstep the platform. And statistics prove, you can go and search this case study on internet. It's not something that I'm dramatizing. It's available, the case study is available on the internet. And there were alarming changes to the way the fatal accidents, the rate came down drastically. So this is a small example of how a simple change, when it takes a human first approach, it is effective and it has the potential to save lives. Not that every intervention that UX designers do end up saving life. Sometimes they just bring delight. Sometimes they just make life easy, right? So what does it involve, the human first approach? It involves thinking about how well does this product meet the user's need. So that includes the utility, the function, the purpose, how do users interact with the product? How easy or difficult is it? So if I go back to my remote example, how well does this product meet a user's need is first understanding all the different functions that I want to do remotely, and the things that I don't want. So they can be eliminated from this remote control. How do users interact with the product? It talks about usability. What I told you makes this product very usable. We can find products that fulfill their purpose or function very well, but are not easy to use. So that is usability. Accessibility. So what happens when people have different abilities? How do you make products accessible to everybody with varying abilities? How in a mobile app or in a website, the navigation, or even in my example of the airport experience, navigation, searchability. How do I navigate the space? How do I search for or find the information that I'm looking for? So we have to think about those things. And then finally, how does the experience of using the product make a user feel? How desirable is it? What are their pain points? What is the value the user is looking for? And actually, if you become a designer, a UX UI designer, or any kind of designer, you end up asking a whole lot of whys. And while this may all seem simple, in one single slide, she's listed everything that a designer needs to think about, and we'll think about it. But it's not as easy, and it takes some habit building, and it needs some tools and techniques and methods and processes through which we can do all of this. And that is what any design school, any design program will teach you. So ultimately, this is the sweet spot in the center of a product, that it needs to be desirable for the user. It needs to be feasible through technology, which means there should be technology which should be able to make it happen, and it should be viable for the business. So the business should be able to sustain itself, make profits if possible. So it needs to cover all these three grounds, and in the center, a product that does all these three, that is the sweet spot of a good user experience design. Right? So we need professionals who can solve human and business problems. So because business problems are also human problems. If I want, as head of academics, I want to always have at the click of a finger information about any student in ANDAcademy. What is their attendance? How are they doing in their assignments? What is the completion rate of their assignments? So on and so forth. That's a business problem for me, but it is a human problem as well. And somebody can design an application for it, right? So we need professionals who can solve human and business problems and create products that don't just look good, but also work well, right? So a UX UI designer wears many hats. And at this point, I want to again stress on that design is far greater than knowing a software. So many times I'm asked about our graphic design program, what softwares will you teach? About our UX UI design program, will you teach us Figma? Will you teach us XD? What will you teach us? Yes, these are important tools. They are like a hammer or a nail is to a carpenter. But is carpentry only about learning how to use the hammer and the saw and the planer? Not about the material, the wood, not about what kind of proportions to be used, what kind of joinery to use. So every profession has its tool. The software is a tool in the hand of every designer, but that profession, its practice expands beyond the tool. And at the onset, I want to tell you that yes, you will learn the software, but the objective of our course is not to teach the software. The objective of our course is to teach you to think like a designer, to think in a way in which you can understand problems, whether they are of humans, users, business, technology, their constraints, understand all of that, think creatively, and then come up with solutions for these problems, right? So it goes beyond software. And for that, a UX UI designer wears many hats. You have to be a researcher. You have to be a planner. You have to be a thinker. Sometimes you have to think logically. Sometimes you have to think creatively and imaginatively, break the boundaries of this is how it is always done, or this cannot be done. You have to break those thoughts, and that is where creative and imaginative thinking comes. But then you have to also think logically. If I put this here, then what happens? So you have to think logically, and you use this thinking for your research, your planning, and for making. Then you finally have to make it. You can't just think it in your head, aisa hota to, it could have been like this. That's armchair consultancy, right? But you have to be actually able to make it. And above all, a designer needs to be a learner every day, because with every project, with every user, with every product that you create, with every feature that you build, you continue to learn. And that is how your practice grows. So it's not just a maker or just a software operator. That would be like saying that if I have a beautiful handwriting, I can be an author. If I know how to type really well, if I know how to work on Word very well or Excel very well, if I know how to work on Excel, then I become an accountant. No. So on that note, I think I'm going to invite Shrikant. So I'm going to let Shrikant, sort of introduce himself. Shrikant is part of our second batch of the UX UI course. And I very distinctly remember when I interviewed Shrikant, and when I compare that Shrikant to the Shrikant that I know today, I see a lot of difference. Not only in his abilities to think as a designer, but I think as a person as well. I think Shrikant has evolved. And I think that is what design did to me. It changed me as a person. And I believe that is what design does to all of us. It changes us at a fundamental level. And of course, in the bargain, we also learn some interesting tricks which we can use to then build a career out of it. So interestingly, Shrikant started his journey as a hotel management graduate, did some marketing, he'll talk about it, and then came to UX UI. So Shrikant, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to hand this over to you.
Thank you so much, Prachi ma'am. Hope I'm audible.
Yes.
First of all, a very, very warm welcome to 40 participants. I think it's 35, including us. So I'm really happy to see you guys turn up in such numbers, and I believe you all are from different industries. And the most beautiful thing about UX is whether you come from the banking sector, the retail sector, the e-commerce sector, I think everybody has something to offer in terms of solutions, because all businesses need UX design. And I'll tell you something about myself in a minute or two. I'll just tell you how I came to UX design. So I was my first job was in hotel marketing. So over there, I picked up the skills of social media marketing, and then I transitioned into a full-time, marketer. Like I was doing marketing analysis in Publicis Global Deliveries, if you know. So we had all global clients over there, like all global automobile brands that my team used to handle. All the big brands. So now one would think why I left such a good company and such a good pay and came to ANDAcademy to learn UX design. That was because I was working with a lot of e-commerce products. Like I've marketed like face masks to t-shirts to automobile leads to real estate. And after working for 3 years, I realized that it's not just the money that you pump into marketing. It's not that if you see an ad everywhere on Instagram, somebody is going to buy, but it's something that even if they click on that page and if they go there to the website, there is a flow, there is a beauty in the process that makes you want to buy the product. And I realized that it's not how many ads that the person is showing, it's about how well the experience is designed on the web page that is gonna help you buy that product. So when I realized this, I started learning on the internet, like what could I do? I started suggesting to my clients, you could move this button here, you could bundle these products, and you could do this, you could do that. then I realized I did not have the credibility to speak in that, that somebody would acknowledge that, yes, Shrikant is right. I think we need to do this. That is because I think I did not lack enough evidence and explanation. So I started searching on the internet, like what can I do to, learn all this? And I stumbled upon UX and UI design. That is when I started rudimentarily with Figma, and I started understanding what is a web page as a product and all that. And I saw a few YouTube videos, and for that matter, I started building my first case study also. But then I realized that I was doing something, which was looking very superficial. Like my designs were not having, I mean, whatever I designed, whatever I was saying was not having enough backing. That is because it was very easy to copy UI screens. You can make a version 2 of a Spotify. You could make a version 2 of anything. You could make a version 2 of Amazon, Flipkart, or anything. But why you're doing it is not what I was getting. I mean, you can find all UI and typography and font related stuff. There are a lot of stuff on the internet, but I had to learn the methodology that big giant companies like IBM, giant companies like iPhone. Why did iPhone think of a single button on a mobile? Why? I mean, there had to be something. It was not just to look cool. Looking cool is a part of the process, but when there is a dynamic island on an iPhone, there is a case study, you guys can check it out. Now, why was that introduced? That has a lot of UX thinking behind it. It is not just because we need to bring something new to the iPhone. It doesn't work like that. Okay. So iPhone, everybody knows, sells like hotcakes. It's because they have an amazing UX team. So this is why I came into UX roughly. And I think each one of you over here also has certain ideas in mind with respect to their own industries. And I'm pretty sure you also want to change some things, right? In the smallest ways. But you also might not have the credibility as of now to suggest those changes to the stakeholders or, your anybody. So I think that is why I joined and if you resonate with me, well and good. Let's jump into my UX case study and I'll show you like what I've learned. This was one of my final projects and I'll guide you through the UX process and I'll take you on this journey. Yeah, so come along. I'll just share my screen. Yeah, so this app that I worked on is called I Can Help, right? So what is I Can Help? I Can Help is a mobile application which was specifically created for senior citizens. Okay. And this provides them accessible volunteering opportunities that they can do. Basically, they are 60 plus years of age, they have retired, and this is what they can do. Okay. Now, what does this app have? This app has volunteering events exclusively for our senior citizens in society who have retired. And what else can they do with this app? They can build friends through volunteering. They can go on challenges with their friends and they have fun to do goals and challenges. Like, like they can set a challenge for themselves and they can, do volunteering. So question is, first of all, I'd like to tell you that there is no such app that is existing in the market right now. And I'll tell you why I designed this app. Okay. So the design challenge from the academy was as such that I had to design a solution as a digital product for senior citizens who have retired in the country. Okay. And it had to enhance their lives in some way. So as you understand, this is a very open-ended statement, right? I have to do something for the senior citizens, which will enhance and improve the quality of their lives. So I'll take you through the journey of how I filtered down to this application. And at the last, I'll show you the prototype of the application, as in what are the features and what is the UI and all that. Yeah, fancy stuff. So jumping to the UX process, I had to first understand my users. Okay. Empathizing with your users is the number one need for any UX process to begin. So when we take the example of a 60-year-old person, this person has just retired. He is 60 years of age, but probably has worked 40 years to study, learn, and be a part of the industry that he was in, right? And when he gets retired, there is a certain sense of, purpose that comes from being a part of the organization. Like you feel like a family, you feel like you're meeting people daily, you have food in the cafeteria, probably you have food with your friends more than you have food with your family in today's scenario. So you start missing all of those, right? And when you arrange this missing that is happening, when you arrange them in stages, I'm just going to quickly tell you what are the psychological stages of a person who is retiring. So one is the first is the pre-retirement stage, when the person is having mixed thoughts that I'm going to enjoy, or how is it going to be. The second is the honeymoon phase. Like the person may have thought of doing something like he might have thought, I'll do some share market trading after I retire, and probably he's doing that activity and he's enjoying his life, he's laid back. Then comes the disenchantment phase for people who have not decided on anything yet. Like, what will I do? They build a morning routine, they go out for walks, they walk their dog, they go buy milk, they go buy vegetables, but at some time they start feeling empty, that empty space starts kicking in. Then comes the reorientation phase, when this person is in a stage where he's going to make it or break it. Make it or break it essentially means, will he find something to do, or something substantial and fulfilling, or will he fall into depression? And in case he makes it out of the stage, he becomes very stable. That is a stability phase. So while going through this, the psyche of my user who is a retired senior citizen, I really felt that I could help him in the reorientation phase, because here is where he's making it or breaking it. I want him to transition from this phase and find stability. So this comes to my first finding, that reorientation phase is exactly where our users would need a helping hand to take back control of their life. Yeah. So from this, I understood the first point, and I started building on this point. So to understand more about this, I conducted a qualitative interview. So my qualitative interview gave me three further findings. And these all three findings have different stories. So when you conduct an interview of 10-15 people, you get similarities, right? So I clubbed those similarities into three stories, also called as personas, for people who know a little bit. And from these stories, I got two inferences. I understood that retirement, how much time they take to adjust after retirement is directly related to what all resources they have after retirement. Are they having friends? Yeah. Are they taking up new hobbies? It is directly related to them, right? Simple to understand. Inference two was that I noticed that the participants who had taken up certain activities which involved community mingling. Like, for example, a person had taken up temple volunteering. He was volunteering at temples and he had become a part of a temple community. That person was really sorted. During my interview, I got to know that person is, really sorted in life. Another story is from a teacher who retired, but she has been given an honorary position in a Hindi medium school project. She's also happy. She's earning somewhere around 7,000, but she's happy because she's going, she's a part of a community, she's teaching, she's meeting other people. So these were the two main inferences that I got. So from these two inferences, I had to understand which is the area that I need to specifically work on. I had to set a certain goal for myself to work on a certain thing. So you see, I'm condensing down from a really broad statement to an exactly actionable statement which I can work on. It is called a how might we statement. And I found out that the goal I had set for my project was, how might we help our retired citizens be a part of a work community again that would help them reorient and fulfill their sense of purpose that comes from being a part of a community. Yeah. Simple to follow, because from those inferences, I found out that I need to get them back to the community so that they can find sense of purpose back. So I started ideating. Yeah. This is the ideation phase that we call in UX. I started thinking that how might we get these people back to exploring things, right? I mean, an engineer who is retired and a doctor who is retired, I'm pretty sure they are, people would come to them to know things and all that, like, Dr. Saab, what medicine should I give to this person? But apart from that, after retiring, is that all he wants to do? We are not sure, right? We are not sure if he wants to do that. So we have to give them opportunities to connect back to the community. So I thought of crazy ideas Like we could create an app to connect retirees for group fitness classes, or they could connect through an app for online art or offline art classes. They could have game nights, all retirees, they could probably in a colony, they could connect and have game nights. Or probably they could join an educational program, where they can also go out and learn stuff. And they could also go for volunteering activities, right? Or they could create travel groups, all these oldies together and travel. So, these were these 6 ideas that, I had roughly figured out. But again, this is too wide. I needed to find out something that is fulfilling my how might we statement. That is the goal I had set for myself. So the goal I had set for myself was that I need to introduce them back to the community, as in their responsibility towards the community should be really high, and the interdependence with the community should be really high. So I put that on the y-axis, and on the x-axis, I put diversity in industry exploration. Now, what this means is, how much can they learn? Since this is an exploratory task, they should be really open to exploring, because only when they explore, they will find out what to do with the rest of their life. So when I put all my activities down on this graph, I understood that volunteering activities is the perfect fit for my, missing piece in the puzzle, because volunteering is going to help create that feeling of responsibility and importance and interdependence with the community. And it would also give them a diverse chance to in exploring stuff, all different activities, like, helping the poor, to feeding animals, to going and planting trees. There are n number of activities. So now that I knew that I'm going to help old people get back to the society through volunteering, I needed to know that how fit, or what are the areas that my senior citizens can help in society. Like, does the society really need their help? So I then decided to do some stakeholder interviews, and I found out that there are places apart from NGOs that need help, like hospitals, libraries, community centers, religious institutions like temples, gurdwaras, mosques. So I'll just take an example of a library and museum where an old senior citizen could fit in. They could help in shelving and cataloging the books. They could, get involved in reading programs for the blind children, or, children, or they could, take up the conservation and preservation of the library. Like, they could come in and, they could sort out stuff, and they could help in all small ways that they can. And to understand that if they are needing help, then why are they not going and helping out? Our senior citizens, we know that they are going to need, our society is going to need help from our senior citizens, but why are they not going and helping? There is some gap. To understand that, I did a landscape analysis to understand what is going on in the volunteering, this process of volunteering. I did some research on the internet. I started typing out volunteering opportunities, and to my amazement, I found, like, hundreds of NGOs listed, and each of them needed a, login with Google, and then they had to go and filter, what kind of volunteering that they would want to do. As in, imagine a 60-year-old person who is not that tech savvy. Do you really think he's going to go to these different sites and then click on each of them and register and then find his opportunity? That it sounded already very painstakingly difficult to me. So here I defined the job that I had to do. My goal is set. Now this is the job that I have to do to solve this problem. So the job to be done statement for me was, I had to provide our senior citizens with personalized volunteering opportunities around them. And the process should be easy and enjoyable. And it should evoke the sense of brotherhood when they take part in volunteering activities, right? When they get back to the community, they should feel a sense of connectedness. It's not that I go and volunteer and I get a certificate and I come back. That is not what I'm aiming for. And all this has to be done through a mobile application. So now I had decided what my app would look like, and I've come down to this stage. So now I had to decide what will be the features of my app. And to understand what I'll provide in my app, I had to understand what my users wanted. So what does my user want? I created 2 personas again, and I clustered them into what are their exact frustrations. And then I created a mental model, which we call it, it's a jargon, but to break it down, whenever the volunteer is thinking in different phases about how the volunteering is going to be, what are the emotions that he'll be having? Like if a senior citizen is thinking of volunteering, what are the emotions that he'll have? Probably he'll have self-doubt. Probably he'll be uncertain. Probably there'll be lack of motivation. So what features of my app could be solving those things? So I thought of success stories of other senior citizens, and probably they could send volunteering invites to their buddies. There could be a buddy system. So once I had created all the possible opportunities, I started clustering them and created a sitemap after card sorting. So this sitemap exactly tells me what all features would be there and how my app would look like. Now, once I had my sitemap in place, I had to decide on how exactly would each of the component look like on a screen. Now, this was a pretty important phase in my project because after all the research, the app is going to take form. And I have to also consider that my senior citizen, he might be having a lot of problems. He might be having an eyesight issue. He might be having a dexterity issue. His fingers might not be shaky while using the application. So with a lot of consideration and making sure that I do not clutter the app, I had to create something very simple for our senior citizen so that he can, number one, connect back with the community in an enjoyable process, and number two, find purpose in his life. So keeping these goals in mind, these three goals in mind, I had to create something that was very desirable by our citizens, senior citizens. So here you can see the wireframes, like each of the component was designed first, how it would look, and then adding a little bit of color to my application. This is a style guide and typography. And here I come, when these are finally applied, here I come to my final UI. Here are some screens. This is the login screen. I designed an onboarding process because you all might already be knowing that an onboarding is very important to capture the wants and needs of a user at an early stage so that you can give them personalized suggestions. And there are handpicked event opportunities. Like you see, there are cards over here on the home screen itself, 5 cards, so that they can immediately open the app and they can click on an opportunity. And they can partner up with friends to volunteers. There is a feature called a quest. You can start a quest with a friend. You can select a friend and send them an invitation. And if you complete 5 events or 10 events together, depending on the scenario, for example, there is an explorer quest where you have to complete 5 different kinds of events. Like one would be in a animal care event, one would be a nature conservation event. If you complete 5 events, you get a explorer badge with a friend. So this is a fun stuff to do with a friend kind of thing. And you compete for the leaderboard in your area to create that sense of competition that yes, stuff is happening and I am I'm important, I know where I stand. So these are the features of the app. And finally, a small animation yeah, to spice things up and deliver the final message that our senior citizens can discover their purpose, they can discover their kind of people, and they can define their life with my application. So quickly jumping into my prototype. Yeah. So as you all know, I had designed the onboarding to capture the data points from my users so that we can give them automated suggestions. So they sign in with Google and they get a congratulations message. The world is a better place because you chose to volunteer. Location is set from GPS. Let's begin. They get a cute message. All our volunteering events are senior citizen friendly and very easy to perform. Thinking UX wise, this message is very important because it tells our senior citizens that be tension free, all our events will be very easy to perform. We are asking them how can they participate? Are they willing to contribute physically, virtually, or both ways? We are asking them their which areas they would like to contribute in, like poverty eradication, literacy, animal aid. We are asking their preference and then we proceed. Connect with fellow volunteers in your area. Right at the beginning, we are introducing them to a feature that and telling them that they can make friends through the application, and we quickly tell them to add friends, which is very suggestive. They can add friends over here, yeah, and then they can proceed. This is the home screen, guys, and as you can make out, there is an introductory message And here is the goal. So the person has set a goal that in October he has to complete 5 events. He's completed 4 and 1 is left. The main feature of the app, that is to volunteer with friends, has been highlighted on the first section itself. And to make it self-explanatory, it tells him that 3 friends are already volunteering. And we're telling them volunteer together and begin a quest. Whenever they open the app, it's directly telling them go and volunteer with your friends. And if not, there are events handpicked for you, right? There is a card view. They can swipe and they can see all the information and they can register directly from here. And to gamify it a little bit, we have put them in leagues to tell them which league they are in, just to create that enthusiasm. And if they want to view all the events, some more events, they have a filtration system over here. This is the filtration system, and they can select animal aid only and search for an event, and they can get an event called animal laundry. Yeah, they need to do animal laundry for animals in a shed. So they can register. They get all the information over here, date and time, about the location. So this is where, again, you need to think about your user, like what all would they be needing? Additional information. What do our senior citizen volunteers need to have? To do laundry, they need to be told that they need to be having a washing machine, detergent, and bleach at home. And it shows them who all are registered over here. You see, the senior citizen might feel insecure that who is coming, who is not coming. And this I had identified in the mental model that I had created, which I showed you earlier. This was a gap. So now I filled the gap by telling that these are the guys that will be volunteering with them and whom to contact for queries. The person who's organizing the event, they register for the event. Cool. So yeah, this is pretty much the main features of the app. And I hope you like the presentation. And thank you so much for sticking along. And I think I'll switch on my camera and give control back to Prachi ma'am. And thank you so much, Prachi ma'am, for having me and explain this to a lot of wonderful young beginners in UX.
Thank you. Thank you, Shrikant, for taking us through this. So what you saw with Shrikant, I wish we had longer duration and he could take you through the journey even in more detail. But as you can see, it's not just about research. It is also not only about visual design. It is everything in between the research and visual design that you need to think of. And you're constantly going back to the human factor of it, right? So somebody in the Q&A has already asked that what is the difference between UX, UI? I've explained it earlier, and hopefully this will explain it even further. So the UX designer would be responsible for the research, testing, figuring out what should be the features and functionality, preparing the sitemap, preparing the interaction design, the navigation and the flow, the wireframing and prototyping, what you saw towards the end, that is in some organizations handled by the UX designer and some by the UI designer. But what would a UI designer be doing? They would do the visual design system, the style guide, the colors. They would take they would either do the wireframes themselves and then take them into the final prototype stage, or they would be given wireframes and they would do that. You might, as a UI designer, you might be just designing micro interactions, icons, components, and things like that. But you cannot be a UI designer without knowing UX. So you can't, every graphic designer cannot be a UI designer. You have to understand the UX process to be a UI designer. So once you learn, you will find your own sweet spot that, what do I enjoy the most? Do I want to be here or do I want to be here? To begin with, you need to learn both. And then you can build your career either as a generalist who does both, or you can build your career as a specialist. A UX UI designer collaborates a lot all the time. It's not a lone job. It's not something that you do yourself. You will, in certain organizations, you will have researchers who are separate, who will handle the research and give them the insights. You will also deal with the sales and marketing teams who will provide you the insights that are coming from the market about the competition, about the user feedback. You will work with other visual designers because you might be wanting to put in some illustrations or motion graphics into your experience. And you'll obviously collaborate with developers who will finally code the app that you have designed or the website that you have designed and execute it. So why should you learn with us? I think before you decide whether you want to learn with And or not, first decide whether you want to learn UX UI or not. That is a bigger question to answer. And then do your recce. I always say this to every candidate. Okay, there are many different ways in which you can learn and many different places where you can learn. And if what we do resonates with you, then be with us. And so what do? We teach design beyond software. So if you want to only learn Figma or XD, we're probably not the best ones. We start from fundamentals. So if you want a fast track, you want to immediately start doing things that Shrikant showed you, we are not for you. We'll start from the fundamentals. You will reach there, but you have to learn the fundamentals first. And sometimes if you don't want to learn the fundamentals, then you may not enjoy the journey with us. You have to learn by doing. So we don't provide pre-recorded courses. Learning by its nature is challenging, and learning design is challenging, and learning UX UI is challenging. So if you like to learn by doing, if you just want to listen and, I think by listening, you can become aware of things. You must have picked up a few things by listening to Shrikant today, but you don't learn to do them. You learn to do them by doing it, right? And we'll talk about the stackable courses when I just talk about it just now. You also get your career support. But I think our biggest career support is the fact that we provide rigorous learning opportunities and industry relevant knowledge and skills. Aside of that, there is our CST department, which helps you with your placement. But I'm also happy to report that a large majority of our learners actually find a job on their own. Not that we don't support them, but a large majority of them, because once you have the portfolio, once you've made your CV, and you start applying, and if you are worthy of a job, you'll get one, right? So these are our courses. Actually, when Shrikant joined, we just had the diploma, but now we have increased our offering. So you can actually do a PG diploma. If you don't come from a design background, and are serious about, you're not just exploring ki mujhe karna hai ya nahi karna hai, do I want to do this or not? If you're serious about pursuing UX UI, and this is the route that I would suggest, because it gives you a soft entry into the UI UX domain. It's a full year course. It's part-time. It has 3 terms. In the first term, we talk about fundamentals of visual design. In the second term, we talk about the fundamentals of UX UI. In the third term, we deep dive into UX UI, and you do a capstone project the way Shrikant did. If you don't want to take the long route, you can take a shorter route. You can start with the certificate in which you learn the fundamentals of UX UI and the design process. It stops actually just before what you saw Shrikant do. So you'll do tiny little projects, but not a full-blown project like what you saw from Shrikant. But you do tiny little projects. You learn a little bit about research, about task flows. You learn all the fundamentals, but you don't do a big project. And if you get interested, you want to pursue further, then you can continue your track. You can either exit at that time with a certificate, or you can continue and then deep dive into UX UI, where we talk a little bit more about strategy, handling more complex problems, the kind that Shrikant was working on, and you do a capstone project. Now, the catch here is that if you start from the certificate level, you can only go as far as the diploma. You won't be able to take it forward further into PG diploma. If you want to do a PG diploma, you have to start with the PG diploma, because the curriculum is different in that sense. Okay, but all the courses, they are part-time. Classes happen twice in a week, Mondays and Thursdays, 7:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. and they're active. They're not like this webinar where only I am speaking or Shrikant was speaking. They're very active, interactive, and there is a whole lot of work that you have to do on your own as well, right? Whatever we teach, design, you have to learn by practicing. So you do it. You have assignments to do. You have revisions to do. So you do a project, a part of a project. You get some feedback from us, and then you have to go back and revise it. So it is a lot of hard work. But the view on the other side is good. Who is this course for? Graduates from any field. There's no prerequisite. Professionals from an allied creative field. So you could be a fashion designer, a textile designer. We have those people who work with us. A graphic designer who now want to make an architect, interior designer. We've had architects, textile designers, fashion designers who've done this course. You could be a techie. So you've done a B.Tech, or you're a coder, or you've been an analyst, and you want to now get into designing and conceptualizing your own products and not just execute products done by others. Or you could be like the first one, graduate from any field, which is what Shrikant was, right? So now would be a good time for you to, that's all. I know we've overshot our time, but now would be a good time for you to put in any questions, and then we can take them up. So I'm going to give this back to Shubhangi to moderate the Q&A for us, Shubhangi.
Thank you for sticking around. I see there are some questions already. If you have any questions, I would recommend that you put it in the Q&A box. We're starting the Q&A, so we can take the questions as we go. Shelly has a question. Hi, Shelly. Shelly is asking, I'm from a non-design background and I wanted to pursue UX UI, but can you suggest me if I should initially start with graphic design or jump directly into UI UX design?
So I would suggest the PG diploma for you, because that takes that route. You start with fundamentals of visual design, and you also learn the design process, because this iterative process of design is quite essential, and you become used to it by the time you reach the term 2. So Shelly, for people like you, if you have the time, I would recommend the PG diploma. If you don't have the time, then you start with the certificate and take it up. The climb will be a little steeper for you, but you'll make it. Shrikant did that. He didn't do the PG diploma. He didn't come from a design background, and he did this. Yep.
Okay. So Supriya is asking difference between UI and UX design. I think we've sort of covered that.
Yeah, done that.
Do you have anything else to add to that?
So, Shrikant, you want to add to it? You said that you'll answer it. Yeah, I'll let Shrikant answer it.
Thank you. No, I just wanted to say, Supriya, I mean, UI, whenever you listen to the word UI, first of all, connect it to a digital device, because we started off with GUI, graphic user interfaces, before Apple, where there were parking machines and people they introduced an electronic, kind of view, to enter the money and enter a number and all that. It started from there, graphic user interfaces. Now we are UI, that is mobile user interfaces, car dashboard systems, and then you're having Apple Vision Pro, that's another UI. So UI is basically pertaining to what surface that you're interacting with. And for that surface to be visible and usable, the design, the color, the font, that all comes under UI, the interactability between you and that surface. That is UI design. And UX is the content strategy, like what content should be where. What is the information architecture? Like when I click on menu, what all should be there on the menu? And from there, how it goes on. So UX, and the most important thing of all, why is it there for the user? Why is it there? That is UX. And that is UI. So Priya, I hope I did justice to your question. Thank you.
Beyond that, I think once you do it, then only you understand that, what is this thing. Right, Shubhangi, let's go.
Moving on, somebody is asking, how long would it take for an average UI UX designer to establish themselves in the market? What could be the mediums through which one can kickstart their career in this field, and how can one do as just a freelancer? Wow, this is
I think that I understand there are actually several questions in this, but good questions. Firstly, I don't know what you mean by an average UI UX designer. I would never want anybody to be average in their life. I would want everybody to be maximizing their potential. How long does it take for, so not only UX UI, I think you do take about 3, 4, 5 years to, I don't know what you also mean by establish themselves, because it can be different benchmarks. So when do you call yourself established? When you reach senior UX designer level, when you reach a CXO level. So I think it's different for everybody, but I think it does take you, so you need to learn, you need to, the first 2, 3, 4 years you spend in the industry polishing, honing your skills of design. So your career gets established actually immediately in that sense, but you're a fresher and you're learning. What are the mediums through which one can kickstart their career? I don't know. I don't understand the question, but I'm assuming that what do you need to do? You do need to be professionally trained. I don't think you can break into this competitive field without training. Because there are jobs, there are people who just enter as well. So the way I look at it is that, like if you have to travel, you can travel like this, or you can travel like this. Like, you can. So if you don't invest in your training, you don't put in time into your training, then you spend it learning on the job and longer. If you invest in training, then you get a head start. You start making sense of what is being said in the organization. You can also attempt to pick up or you'll be hired by organizations who are doing serious UX work, and so the learning opportunity also there will be better, because you'll be working in a competent team, and you'll be able to see experienced people working around you. So that's what is the advantage of training yourself and then entering the field. I don't think that you can. UX is a highly collaborative space. I don't think it's a space for freelancers. Yes, at some stage after you have gained a lot of experience, etc., you can set up a studio, but you will always need a team. UX is not a lone job. UX is very much a team sport. So it's not like playing guitar on your own. It's being part of an orchestra. And so I wouldn't suggest going for freelance.
Okay, moving on. Aishwarya is asking, can you talk a little bit more about sitemap in detail?
So this is not an educational webinar, Aishwarya. I'm going to give this question a pass. We are not teaching UX UI right now. So I would like to, because I think most people here are here to understand what UX UI as a discipline is. And so I won't take that. And also I wish it was as easy that I can just talk about sitemap and explain to you, but simply still answering it. It's like any map, just as the map of a city tells you where are the different where are the different locations, and what are the routes that connect. And if I want to go from point A to point B, what can be the 3 different routes that I have to take? The sitemap is exactly that. It is the map of your mobile application and website. That where is everything placed, and what are the different routes that I can take from going from point A to point B.
Shelly is asking, are the classes only on Mondays and Thursday? No weekend classes? Yes.
So far no, because we are very happy to do weekend classes, but so far we have seen that our learners prefer weekdays, and we never end up having a substantial number of students who want weekend classes. So far we have Mondays and Thursdays.
Yeah. Somebody is asking, what is the difference between a diploma and a PG diploma?
The duration. So as you can see on your screen, the PG diploma is a 1-year course. It has 3 terms. The diploma has 2 terms and is a 34-week course. There is a difference in the fees. But most importantly, there is a difference in the width and the depth of learning in the 2 courses simply by the time that you spend. Also, the PG diploma gives you a soft entry into the space of UX UI, which means that you don't, like you can first drive a little bit on, in the plains and then start driving in the hills. If you do the certificate and diploma, you straight away start driving in the hills. Right?
Yeah. We haven't specifically put it here on the slide, but we also offer now a UI diploma, which helps you specialize in the field of UI only. So I just wanted to mention that. Is a certificate prerequisite for a diploma?
Yes.
Right
yes.
now. Yeah.
So we don't give anybody an entry direct. So the way the diploma is that you first study the certificate of 18 weeks, then you carry forward. So you can either exit at that stage, take a certificate. If you carry forward, you convert it into a diploma with deeper learning. But you don't get a lateral entry into term 2.
Supriya is asking, I have 2 years of experience in UI and have a break of 5 years. Now I want to restart my job. Please suggest a course for me.
Supriya, it's difficult for me to talk specifically to you. Certainly, you need to do either a diploma or a PG diploma. But between the 2, I'll only be able to guide you once I see your portfolio. If you can, so the easiest way to do it is that get in touch with one of our counselors, leave a lead for us, and our counselors will get in touch with you. And through them, your portfolio will reach me, and then I will be able to comment whether you can just do a diploma and that will be sufficient, or do you need a PG diploma?
We have a burning question. How will AI affect the future of UX, UI design and designers? Aisha is asking.
Productively, beautifully, progressively. It's another tool in our hands. It makes our work efficient. It makes our work, efficient, I think. It's another tool in our hands. So it will make the same difference as any technological advancement does to a discipline. So to begin with, everybody was using hand tools to make things. Then you had mechanization. Then you had electrification. Then you had digitization. So with every technology, you started, having more efficiency built into the system. And that is what AI will do. But I know what is the hidden question inside this. Is that, how does it impact the job market? So I think what it will do is that people who can think, who can be creative, who can be imaginative, who can be human, it'll take a long time for machine learning to seep into and for AI to develop the same humanistic qualities that humans naturally have, right? So if you can bring that to the table, so you have to be a problem solver. So if you want to be people, who can just illustrate. So if you're going to be what did mechanization do? It took away jobs of the manual labor. And then those people had to upskill themselves and had to learn, instead of using hand tools, they had to learn how to use electrical tools, right? So I had to learn how to run an electrical saw. Earlier, I used to run a saw. But if I learn how to use the electrical saw, I was able to make 1 chair in a day, and now I can make 3 chairs in a day, right? So it's going to be the same, right? So yeah, we'll all have to learn how to use AI productively, effectively, efficiently.
Yeah. Shelly has another question. So as a student of ANDAcademy, I want to ask Shrikant, what exactly is he doing right now professionally with the help of, by the knowledge that he's gotten at AND? Okay.
Hi, Shaili. Nice question. And I think this is an absolutely wonderful question. Had to be asked sometime or later. So I'd like to tell you, I just finished my final project last week. And you'd be surprised to know I have already been approached by a financial UX consultancy. And I discussed with Prachi ma'am about, should I be joining or not? And I was having some problems deciding on should I be joining or not. And I got it cleared and I am not going to join, though the offer package was above the minimum guarantee that ANDAcademy gives. But I'll not be joining it now. I'm still waiting for a better opportunity. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Thank you, Shrikant. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody is asking, is it okay to give 1 year for an online course or do any other things with these? I'm unsure.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the question, but I think what I want to say is that choose a course that teaches you that takes a rigorous approach if you're serious about learning, right? Otherwise there is a lot of other things that we can do with 1 year of our life. If I had 1 year of my life, I would travel the world, right? But if I want to learn, then I want to choose a course that will push me, that will bring experts to teach me. And when experts come to teach, they push you. They set the bar high. They don't let you compromise with your learning. And that's uncomfortable. And as a passionate learner, not as a teacher, as a passionate learner myself, I would say that choose a course which will push you. And that can be online, that can be in person, that can be hybrid, that can be whatever, but choose a course that will push you if you want to invest a year into your learning.
When are the classes scheduled to start? So
Yes.
Recently a batch started end of July. Next batch will start in November. Correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am.
Yeah. So just around the turn of October, November, sometime around.
Yeah. So classes will start in October, November. However, we do have many other webinars lined up and exciting events lined up. We also have a design masterclass coming up. So please sign up for that. And right now we're also running a scholarship. So if you apply before 15th of August, you'll be considered for the scholarship. So I would recommend, if you are really interested in the course, that you apply before 15th of August, and then you'll be considered for the scholarship. So it's a win-win situation. Yeah, I guess we've exhausted all our questions. We don't have any other questions anymore. So we've run over our time as well. I would like to thank Prachi ma'am for your presentation, ma'am. It's always such a delight to hear you. Thank you for joining us, Shrikant, and thank you for taking us through your work. It's always, I am always looking forward to good student projects. Now I have one more to look forward to, but thank you so much for sharing your wonderful work with us.
So thank you, everybody, and good night. And may your dreams come true, whatever those dreams may be, whether they are with design, with and, without and, anywhere, but and keep learning always. Good night.
Okay, thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.